Welcome to Reinventing the Arena, the podcast that guides you through the powerful journey of aligning, embodying, and rising into your most authentic self. We dive deep into the transformative power of doing the inner work because the most important relationship you have is the one with yourself. When you align with your authentic self, you naturally attract the relationships and experiences meant for you. I'm your host, Molly Connolly, a coach who's passionate about helping you uncover who you truly are using human design, NLP, and self-empowerment tools. Here we explore the art of aligning with your authentic self, embodying your highest potential, and rising above old patterns to create a life that resonates with who you truly are. Whether you're seeking deeper fulfillment in love or your personal journey, this space is designed to inspire your evolution. Together, we'll explore self-discovery, share transformational stories, and uncover the energetic shifts needed to create the love and life you truly desire. This isn't just about change. It's about fully stepping into who you were meant to be. So, lady, align, embody, and rise. Welcome to your journey of self-transformation. Welcome to Reinventing the Arena. Why, hello there, lady. I am so excited to be back. It's been, 2 weeks since the last recording? I was so indecisive whether to record the profile types or the centers for today's episode drop. I had to go back and forth, and gosh, my sacral was, let's just say, very boldly demanded to discuss the centers episode. Personally, I thought I was going to have time to record this episode before Brad and I visited Portland, which, by the way, was amazing. But no such luck. So this episode could be so long that I have to split it up into two. I actually created an outline so that I don't go off track, which you'll hear why, because that's relevant to one of our centers. So before we get started, there are some housekeeping things I want to note. This Thursday night, which is April 23rd, I'm hosting a free mini human design readings session. I did this back in January, so if you participated in that, you can also still come again. This is where I'm giving 5 to 7 mini readings, all within an hour, so about 10 minutes each. All you have to do is fill out a form with your birth information and your focus or intention for the reading. Then I select forms at random and prepare the charts. If you can't make it live, that is not a problem, as everyone who registers is going to receive the recording probably the next day. Typically, if you are new to human design, you may not know what to ask, but you still want to join the call. So know that a reading is not going to tell you when you're going to meet your significant other or if you will win the lottery or anything like that. Questions can be something like, I really enjoy my job as a nurse, but I have been feeling as if I'm stuck in the same rut over and over again. What do I need to do based on my design, or should I just research a new career option? Or maybe something like, I'm having difficulty making friends as an adult. What can I lean into with my design to have better relationships? So basically pick one area of life that maybe you feel stuck or confused about, and then ask a question about that directly. Also, I won't be sharing your birth information during the call. I'm just going to be sharing your chart and your first name so that you know it's you. Oh, and if someone has the same name as you, like same first name, I will, of course, include the last name initial. So once again, if you're interested in joining, find the link in the show notes to sign up. All right, next, the third round. I cannot believe I'm saying this. The third round of embodiment mentorship starts June 1st. I know that seems so far away right now, but I swear it was just like January. Time is just flying. I will start reviewing applications on May 1st, but you can apply at any time for the next round. For those of you who may be new to the podcast, Embodiment Mentorship is a 6-month-long human design mentorship for women who want to actually live their design, not just know it. You and I make a plan together as I support you each week through Voxer or Marco Polo, meet twice a month for a 1-hour session, and you also receive a 2-hour human design reading to really dig into the areas you want to explore and embody during our 6 months together. We experiment, we reflect, all on a pace that works best for you. At the moment, I have 3 mentorship clients, one who started last December, and then 2 who started in the second round in March. All 3 women's mentorships are completely unique to them. Some have been practicing 1 or 2 areas for a few months, while the woman who started in December has moved into a 4th area to explore, while she's still trying to balance the other experiments. As you probably can tell, she's a manifesting generator. June will be the last time that I'm offering the mentorship this year, so if you've been thinking about it, now is the time to apply. Plus, I'll be keeping the round small with 2 spots available. There's a link in the show notes for you to explore and learn more about it. Last but not least, if mentorship is not calling you, but you still would like support within an area of life where you're experiencing change, consider coaching. Typically, coaching lasts 4 months, and it includes a 2-hour human design reading, an energy leadership assessment and debrief session, and then 7 one-on-one coaching sessions. At this time, and as I look at my calendar, I have room for only 2 more one-on-one coaching clients until Brad and I are fully settled in Portland, which is probably going to be the end of September. So start reviewing additional details on my website and set up a connection call. Both links are in the show notes. All right, let's get started. Grab your chart and anything else you may need because you may want to take notes. If you don't have your chart, you can go to my website and download it there because it's also going to include an 11-page energy report. Now, that report does not give you details about the centers like I'm about to share with you now, but if you have downloaded it, if you have printed it out, this is a really good place for you to take notes on it so you can have all this information in one place for yourself, about yourself. So why is it important for us to discuss the centers of the human design chart? And just as a quick review, those are the shapes within the body graph of the chart. There's 9 of them, and I'll be going over what they are in a bit. But why this is important to you is because it actually makes you more aware of your strengths. It makes you more aware of conditioning and like what themes those conditionings are, where it's coming in. And you can develop an awareness of these themes in your life. Before we go into each of these centers, I want to discuss what's considered defined, undefined, and opened. So a defined center is going to be colored in. It does not matter the color, by the way. Some charts are going to give you numerous colors, like what the sacral might be, colored red or orange or something. These really don't matter at this point. If they're colored in, it means it's defined. This means this is the grounded, the essence of you. Like your design centers broadcast who you are at your core. It's your strengths. It's what you can lean back into to bring you back to center. Undefined means that it is a white center with a colored in number, which once again, those are gates. If it is completely open, none of the gates are colored in, so everything is completely white. These are the areas that are considered fluid, and they're not you. And this is where conditioning really comes in. So if you have an undefined or open center, what's fascinating is where you take in, you absorb like a sponge that theme of that center, and then you radiate or amplify that out into the world, to the people around you, to the areas of life. And sometimes that can affect other areas of your chart, like your defined centers. This is something that I have noticed within myself. This is something I've noticed within my clients, how maybe my undefined root affects my defined sacral. Those kinds of things, once I get into the deeper layers of the themes and the conditioning around them. So go ahead and look at your chart, and I'm just going to start at the top and just overview of what each center is called. So at the very top, we have the head center. That is going to be the triangle at the top. Next, you have a triangle that's flipped the other direction. That's the Ajna Center, A-J-N-A. Next is a square, and that is your throat center. And beneath the throat center is a diamond. This is what I call the identity center. Other people might call it the G center. Other people also call it the self center. But for your reference, we're calling it the identity center. Going to the right, there is a very small triangle. People call this the ego center. They also call it the will center. For majority of what I discuss, I say this is the heart center. There are times, depending on someone's chart and the reading and what we're going through, I might call it the will center, but that's a whole nother discussion that we'll discuss when we get there to this center. So let's keep going to the right. There is a triangle that's kind of on its side. This is the solar plexus. When we go directly left to that and we're back into a square, that is your sacral. Continuing to go to the left, there's another triangle on the side. This is the spleen. And at the very bottom, that square is called the root center. Now, one thing to note about these centers is that they actually work kind of in a grouping. And this grouping is really important because it even encompasses the macro theme. So at the very top, your head center, and at the very bottom is your root center. Those are considered pressure centers, where we feel pressure from the external world trying to get in. Next are the awareness centers. This is the Ajna, which is that triangle that's second in the head, pointing down to the throat, as well as your spleen and your solar plexus. Those are the two triangles that are on left and right of the body graph, where your sacral is in between. Now, the next would be considered the motor centers. This is where we have sustainable energy and movement. This includes the busiest motor center of all, which is the sacral. This also includes your heart center, the root, and your solar plexus, who is, a 2-for-1 deal because it's also an awareness center. So after you see that, there's just 2 centers that are left without groupings. Don't worry about that. That's totally fine, totally normal. But like I said, the pressure centers, just being aware that that's pressure where it comes in. Awareness, this is where we gain awareness the most. And the motor centers, once again, this is where we have sustainable energy and actually where we have movement. Okay, so the theme of the head center is inspiration, thoughts, and ideas. No matter if you have this defined or not, all of us are constantly under the pressure to know things. Once again, it's a pressure center. It wants to know all the answers to the bigger questions. That includes, how do we do something? What do I need to do? And why is that so important? Those questions come through for all of us. And the only way that this really is a defined center is if it connects with the ajna. There are no other ways for it to get defined. So if it's defined, it's because it's connected to your ajna, which also means that your ajna then would be defined. The biggest lesson to know with human design, and I've mentioned this briefly in other episodes, is that you don't make decisions with your mind. You make decisions with your body. It's about getting into your body to make decisions. And so your head center is not a decision center. It's a big lesson for all of us, especially because we have been told that this is where we make decisions. If you have it defined, you're only 30% of the population. How amazing is that for you? So you do have gifts when it is defined. So you are a constant source of information and inspiration. You also have consistent access to your mind, and you know what you think. So what I find interesting about people with a defined head center is that you can easily process your thoughts and your ideas and all of that so quickly that it allows you to move forward with action. You can be someone who solves, questions that people are looking for answers. You can solve your own questions, your own problems in a sense, and then share them with others as part of your wisdom. You also have this amazing capability. And if you have this defined, you might think this is odd for me to say, but you can return to your thoughts, write them down, and then share them when it comes to the right time with the right people. That being said, there are issues of a defined head. You can get caught up in negative thinking and turn it into self-sabotage, especially when you can't come up with the answers that you want to solve. This can mentally wear you out. You also, sadly, can never stop thinking. Your brain is just never turning off. You also have a particular way to think, which doesn't allow you to be flexible, specifically flexible with your thinking. So now that you have this defined, what can you do with it? First and foremost, gain awareness of your thoughts, regardless if they're positive or negative, whichever way you view those, because honestly, they're not always right. I know as someone with a defined head might think, what are you talking about? But your thoughts aren't always right. If you haven't already, start working with your strategy and authority to move out of your head as a decision-making center and into your body. So now if 30% of people have it defined, how many of us have it undefined? 70%, and I am one of those. So remember, with an undefined or even open head, you take in and amplify the theme. You take in thoughts and inspiring ideas from others and then amplify them. An example would be scrolling through any social media platform and being inspired by someone, then thinking that you need to take action just like they have. You could even be, listening to a motivational speaker or an authority figure and take on their beliefs as your own. So some of the issues around having undefined head, and I am so this person, you might not be able to remember things. You can't rely on your mind to solve problems, especially as you remove conditioning. That is honestly a benefit. And due to the outside world, you probably believe that something is really wrong with you. I'll say that there will be a lot of conditioning around your thoughts and your belief systems. Personally, I can tell you that I have dealt with all of these. The more I have gone into my body for direction, the less I can rely on my mind to solve problems. And that sometimes does impact what I remember. Also, having an undefined and open mind can be distracting and take you on a ride. So, for example, I have mentioned numerous times that if I don't take notes for some of my longer episodes like this one, I will go on a tangent and I will have no clue where I was going with it. You will notice that. You can go back to other episodes and that has happened. It can even happen with a guest episode, which is why when I have a guest join me, it's like we have an outline of like what we might want to move through so we don't just go anywhere and everywhere. Then, of course, the story that something is wrong with you. It's such a normal issue for majority of people that I come in contact with, and just like anybody in general, we always think something's wrong with us. Most of the time, we can look into your other centers of your chart and explore this theme, but honestly, the undefined or open head center often gets missed for this limiting belief because we want to work on the other things. So I just talked about all the issues with having an undefined head center. Let's talk about the gifts. So you are a flexible thinker. Holy cow, what a wonderful thing. You can also have a still mind. Yes, this does take practice, but it is beautiful. And you can also take in people at a deep mental level. These gifts are always there, but they can be very limited due to conditioning. When we start removing conditioning, the gifts of any undefined or open center start to shine brighter. And then you have this sense of expansion and flexibility, especially with the head center, can really shine through. So if you have an undefined or open head center, what can you practice? Awareness is always a key starting point. Forgot where your keys are? You are not XYZ label. That's just your undefined or open head center. Able to get lost in meditation? How amazing for you. Have a download out of nowhere? Look at your undefined or open head center tapping into the world around you. So expansive. Okay? Let's reframe any of those negative moments. All right, now that we're done with the head center, we're going to move on to the Ajna. Ajna is one of the 3 awareness centers, and its information must be asked to be shared at the right time. So listening to your strategy and authority is extremely important, no matter your definition. The overall theme of the Ajna Center is processing information, especially if it's connected to the head center. Now, once again, note this is not a decision center. The Ajna Center does have the power to take inspiration and ideas from the head center and then review, analyze, and observe it to finally process it into useful information. So, do you have the Ajna defined? If this is you, you are part of the 47% that does. You have constant access to processing, either if that's from your head or your throat center. If it's connected to your throat, you can constantly speak your mind. In fact, the 3 gates that are in the Ajna Center that connect to the throat center are around opinions, insights, and ideas. Some of the gifts include that you enjoy mental stimulation. You are also not easily influenced by other people's thoughts. You are designed to be certain. And you can count on yourself to process information. The certainty from your Ajna Center really allows you to embody that sense of knowing, which people do pick up on. And when you are asked to share your ideas, insights, or opinions, you give people something to really think about. Plus, that impacts people, meaning you impact people with just your thoughts alone. All that being said, like every center we're going to be discussing, there are some issues. You can be very headstrong. You can be seen as inflexible. You could be dependent on your mind as a source of wisdom as you think it's a decision-making center. The defined Ajna Center can impact your relationships, especially when you feel like you are right and that you're right all the time. You can also share your insights at the wrong time to the wrong person. Because even though you feel like that's good intentions, it's not really the correct timing because maybe they didn't ask you. So, for example, my mom has her Ajna Center defined, and to be honest, it can be very difficult for her to change her mind or adjust the way she does things. If she does have something that needs to be changed, it can take her a while. So usually it has to be an outside situation to influence her routine. So let's say, for example, actually, this one's really good. My mom, she's like in her 70s. She is aware of her health. Now that she's gone to a doctor, not saying anything's bad, but the doctor's like, hey, if you want to live a little bit longer, what we should do is incorporate more movement into your life other than walking with girlfriends down the street or whatever. Go to a real gym. So she had to come up with how to really get her to want to go to a gym. My mom has never been really physically active. She, grew up in the 60s where like girls barely went to gym class or participated in sports that much. What she ended up realizing is that she's very social. And so she had to find certain gym classes that really spoke to her, had really great people in it, and that motivated her to go to the gym, which that helped her be certain that this class was right for her. It really positioned this oh my gosh, I am now this person who goes to, gosh, what is it, like senior yoga. And she's certain that my dad needs to go with her, which he's like, no, that's not happening. But this is just one example of how sometimes that defined ajna is not flexible in the thinking of, I don't think I need to go work out. That's not who I am. I'm certain, and yada, yada, yada. So great example of how sometimes that ajna can get in the way of not just thinking, but of thinking that you're doing the right thing. So if you have a defined Ajna Center, what you want to begin is to practice awareness as well. The awareness that your process is part of you, not completely who you are. Allow yourself to test expanding your certainty by acknowledging that you might be wrong, that you aren't always right, or that there could be a new way of doing something. When I say that to people that have it defined, yeah, that could totally hurt your ego, but that's part of human design. It's the ego is not part of us, but it is an experiment of leaning into your strategy and authority to have more expansion, to determine your process and expression of your certainty, maybe even in a new way. Okay, moving on to the undefined Ajna Center. 53% of the population have an undefined or open ajna. Mine is also undefined. Here is where we take in and amplify other people's processes, as well as their certainties, as our own. Plus, having an undefined or open ajna does make things a bit more complex, because that means you have an undefined or open head center as well. Some of the issues with this include difficulty holding on to information or data, usually being uncertain, unable to process information consistently, and not being able to focus. The difficulty holding on to information is something I have dealt with so often. For example, I hate trivia nights. Unless I have a deep passion for something or a relatable experience where I can flash back to a memory, I will not be able to remember what the answer is. So being asked a question on the spot without being prepared or having it tied back to a memory can cause feelings of uncertainty and insecurity, especially for myself. All of this can make you feel like you can't trust yourself to know something. You may also have difficulty figuring out where to focus because you are taking in so much information through your head center, and then it goes into your ajna to process. Now, because your head is undefined or open, you're doing double duty. And if you're not in alignment with your strategy and authority, you could be feeling stuck in a mental loop, causing you to feel overwhelmed, inadequate, or just mentally exhausted. So, all that being said, what are the gifts of the undefined ajna? You are here to be wise about what information actually needs processing. Not everything is meant for you to figure out. How much of a relief is that? You can also process information in a variety of ways. Oh, this process doesn't work well. What about this one? Oh, you go try it, you test it, review it, you practice what works well best for you, and then, for what information. Think of visual processing, symbolism, pattern recognition. Those are all strengths of having an undefined or open ajna. You can even tap into a variety of knowings. So how do we practice this? Practice appreciating your undefined or open ajna. Recognize how many times you're able to process information in different ways between now and maybe even the next, episode drop. Also, free yourself from being certain about a belief, especially if you notice your belief about something is stronger when you are around others, because that means you are taking it in from them and amplifying it. It could also be, maybe even something that you watch on TV, you see on social media. When that belief or something gets amplified in you, It's because you're taking it in from someone else. We're on to the throat center. Here, the main theme is expressing yourself through thoughts, feelings, and creations. In traditional human design teachings, this is the center where we manifest. This is going to be a podcast episode later, but I do not believe fully that it's just about having a defined throat. But that's for another episode, like I said. So here, all the energy of the entire chart actually rushes to the throat center so that it can be expressed or not, and is the most connected center throughout the entire chart. So your capacity to show up, to be heard, and create depends on your alignment with your throat center. For those that have it defined, you are a part of the 72% of the population, which means that you are either a manifester or a manifesting generator. How it's defined depends on your expression. So if it's connected to your ajna, you can easily speak your mind. If it's connected to your spleen, you can speak your intuition. If it's connected to your heart center, you are designed to speak with leadership and authority. If it's connected to your identity center, you're designed to speak in a creative way or in a unique way to the world. If it's connected to your sacral, you're designed to manifest your actions through your words. So the gifts are not as simple from this center because it's connected to 6 other ones. So I'll just speak to the overarching theme. What is wonderful is that you have consistent access to your voice. By paying attention to and listening to your strategy and authority, you will be able to share your voice in your own unique way. Issues with this center also vary depending on its connection or lack of connection to other energy centers. Overall, those issues can be not honoring your energy type, not listening to your strategy and authority. When you don't honor the correct timing of when using your outer layers, which I just said, energy type, strategy, and authority, this will cause you to have a backlash from others and actually disempower your voice. There are inner layers to each person's design that can cause you to not use your voice due to your previous experiences as well. What I find interesting about the defined throat is how often it really is conditioned, but at the same time, so powerful. I have watched my manifesting generator best friend manifest finances or material items, same with my husband, Brad. But I have also seen how certain areas of a manifesting generator's lives can impact how and if they speak up for themselves and others, as well as when they do speak up for themselves, to who is also a indication as how much that voice might have been conditioned. So, what do you do with a defined throat? First, what I would suggest here is, because this is such a bigger concept, write down all the centers that are connected to your throat. And then, obviously, listen to the rest of this episode and listen for the themes of each of them. Then I want you to ask yourself these questions. Where am I not using my voice? How can I start using it? And then, am I using it correctly by honoring my strategy and authority? Sit there, reflect in that. There's a lot of yes or no's in there. But at the same time, if you're maybe not using your strategy authority, probably best to do that so you can actually empower yourself and others by using your voice. So if you're like me and part of the 28% that has it undefined or open, here we go. What I noticed with those of us with undefined or open throats, it is a double-edged sword. It's a blessing and it's a curse until you hone it for yourself. You here have the capacity to shift your voice. It's powerful and it's soft. It meets people where they are, but it can also make you feel invisible. So much so that you shut down and do not speak unless spoken to. On the flip side, You can be super determined to be heard and just get louder and louder and louder and louder until you attract attention. Whether that attention is good or bad, it's, to be determined. So let's talk about these issues. You speak, but no one hears or notices you. You feel pressured to talk either all the time or you talk without knowing what to say. You exhaust your energy by trying so hard to be seen or heard. You can blurt things out. I just want to raise my hand. You can blurt things out and not know where the hell they came from. And one of my personal favorites is you can't plan what you want to say consistently. Now with that last one, obviously, where I can't plan what to say, this has been an issue with being consistent on this podcast, or even writing blogs or my emails that I send once a week. I really have to tap into my sacral and the gifts of my undefined throat to share my voice. And I also overlap that with my undefined head and Ajna so that I can plan my podcast episodes. Like this one, there are numerous notes. In the past, I had a client that had an undefined throat, and during almost every single coaching session, I couldn't get a word in. While she felt relieved to express herself in such a safe space, the progress that she wanted to make wasn't really happening because we weren't able to have a dialogue back and forth. Eventually, I had to be somewhat uncomfortable with my undefined throat and overstep it because I had to listen to my sacral. And I started moving her through a few different experiments where we could settle her conditioned throat and really recognize and develop her self-expression. Overall, the throat can have a lot of conditioning, especially since it can connect to the other centers. And if it's undefined, you may have a gate that's defined and reaching for one of those centers. It's called a hanging gate. Having the feeling of being invisible is real, and it can affect other undefined and open centers as well. So please know that you're not alone, and there are ways to help move you through your expression, even with this undefined or open center of yours. So like all the other centers, the gifts of an undefined or open throat can be some of my favorites. First, you can connect to people through your voice. Your voice is a magnet, and you can channel, which I find very exciting and extremely helpful at certain points for myself. Number two, all this being said, these gifts can really shine through once you remove conditioning. And when I say connecting through your voice, you can alter your voice like an actor doing impressions, or even when traveling, now out of nowhere, you have this like French or Minnesotan accent, right? I just did right there, Minnesotan, right? Or whatever it is, Wisconsin, Chicago, all those accents that you can have when traveling to those areas. You might pick it up. It's fascinating. This is creating connection to another person. So to work with your undefined or open throat, you might want to do something similar to your defined throat. But at the same time, you could just look at how are you sharing your voice based on the themes from this center? How are you not? Are you talking constantly? What parts of you are you not honoring? If you aren't speaking at all, what conditioning is coming up for you? Okay. Moving on to the identity center, also known as the G center. The theme of the identity center, I don't know what it would be, is identity number one, but authenticity, love, and direction as well. The love of self is centered here. This is where you really know yourself and create stability. This center can connect to 4 other ones, which includes the throat, the sacral, the spleen, and the heart, also known as the will center. Honestly, the identity center is one of my favorites to play with in my chart, and I will get to that in a bit. So 57% of the population has a defined identity center, What does having a defined identity center feel or look like? Well, you take care of yourself. You have a pretty good idea of who you are, and you are not easily swayed to be something that you're not. You are also connected to love, even if you do not realize it. So, some of the gifts include you have direction in life, and it can seem as if you have A plus B equals C sort of path. You are very comfortable with yourself as a sense of identity is strong. All of this helps you know what you really want deep down. That being said, some of the issues with having a defined identity center includes thinking people should go the direction that you are going in life. This is a pretty big one from what I've been witnessing in clients and those people around me. But at the same time, due to other areas of your chart, you may decide to follow someone else's sense of direction and feel completely unlike yourself or feel lost. You may not be aware of your gift of knowing who you are deep down and appreciating or loving your authentic self. So, if you have this defined, what can you do with your defined energy, or I said energy center, with your defined identity center? Ironically enough, stay in your lane. Because if you stay in your lane, you're going to help so many more people than you know. You are not here to follow other people or jump on trends or jump on a bandwagon. You are here to do what feels authentic to yourself first and foremost. Now, depending how your identity center is defined, that's going to add a little bit of flavor or spice to your identity. Plus the outer layer, the three things, the energy type, your strategy and authority, will also season your identity center with another flavor. Now, if it's undefined, you are part of 43 of the population of either having undefined or open identity center. I also have an undefined identity center, and experimenting with this has been extremely important for me over the last few years. When you have an undefined or open identity center, you are not here to have a very fixed identity. You are meant to be fluid. You like to try on different things. You may have multiple career paths, live in a variety of locations. It's like you're a chameleon, and that is totally okay. Overall, your environment, though, is critical for you. Where you live, where you work, even where you sit in a restaurant, within a yoga class, it is extremely important to you. So let's dig deeper into these issues. First, you don't have a clear direction or path in life, but it's conditioned for us to literally have our lives planned out for all the damn things. But if you follow your strategy and authority, you will find your path wherever you are in the present moment. Because you don't have a fixed identity, a lot of people just don't understand you or see you possibly as someone who's scattered. Having an undefined or open identity center allows you to experiment with other people's identities as well as amplify them. So my husband has a lot of logic in his design. And when I'm around him, I fall more into those areas of my chart. I can lean heavily into my strategic A plus B equals C sort of mentality. And if I feel up to it from other centers that he defines for me, I can get a lot of shit done. But when he's gone, I feel all that weight removed, and I can flow into who I want to be today in the present moment. Another issue that comes up is questioning if you are lovable because you have conditioning that you need to have a fixed identity, or you're stuck in an identity that someone else gave to you. Now, you may have been taught differently, and you have maybe been listening to your body. You have been practicing your strategy and authority, and you can actually see the love that radiates inside of you as well. But know that that unlovable feeling is very normal for anyone with an undefined or open identity center. The next issue that I have already mentioned is your environment. If you are living somewhere that does not, and I'm going to repeat, does not feel good to you, it's going to impact every single area of your life. If this is you, Listen up. What is happening is that you are taking in the area you live in and amplifying it. I have done this ever since moving to St. Louis. While this city may be for other people, it is not for me. And sadly, if you get me talking about it, which I will not do here, I can make a laundry list of all the reasons why I can't be here, or what I don't like about it, or whatever else. If you're on my email list, you know that I have been embodying this practice, and I have made my trip to Portland just a few weeks ago, and it was a way different experience, as I mentioned in my email. So, all that being said, what are the gifts of the undefined or open identity center? First, you have openness and flexibility, which allows you to have a deeply rich and varied life. You are designed to be wise about direction and true love. With having such flexibility in life, you have a variety of experiences and you have a variety of friends. This allows you to experiment with numerous paths, numerous lessons, and even become a master of multiple subjects. From all that experimenting, testing, and learning, you become wise about what direction works best for you, as well as the depth for love. You can love, many different things, many different people in a variety of times of your life, but then have a well of love for people that are very special to you. One way to practice playing with your undefined or open identity center would be to come from a place of curiosity. Act as if your life is a never-ending buffet table, okay? Like, what do I want to try today? Do I want to try a spin class? Do I want to learn how to make my own pasta? Do I want to travel to the quirky little town in the next state over with a friend for funny photo opportunities? You could also write down a list of all the different people that you have met over the years and appreciate how diverse your friendships, your relationships, or even your encounters have been. You could test out new locations and how that impacts your energy. Just jot down all this information as you experiment. All right, now moving on to the heart center. Like I said before, it's also known as the will center. The theme for the heart center is around value and capacity. It can have a can-do attitude. As a reminder, it is one of the 4 motor centers, and this one is focused on the material world. It can connect to 4 other centers: the throat, the identity center, the sacral, and the solar plexus. Only 37% of the population have their heart centers defined. If you have this defined, you have access to energy to just get shit done, whether you want to or not even. It's a lot stronger if it's something you want to do, as well as, if you're listening to your strategy and authority. Some gifts of the defined heart center include walking your talk, meaning that you say you're going to do something and you do it. You also highly value yourself. You are competent and inspire others with your go-getter attitude. You're also a promise keeper, which builds trust within yourself and with others. Now, when we think of someone with this drive, what could be some of the issues? If you said burnout, you win. Because if this is you, you may know this all too well. You can push yourself to do anything, but just because you can doesn't mean it's right for you. If you follow your willpower instead of your strategy and authority, you will be in a constant loop of productivity and then burn out. Another issue is that you fall into your not self theme when you are with others that don't have their heart center defined. This is usually because they don't have the capacity to do the things that you do. But you either push them anyways, or they use your energy and then they fail. Last but not least, you're not following your strategy, which doesn't give you the capacity you desire. So for example, let's say you're committing to a bunch of social events, work projects, and whatever else. If you didn't wait to use your strategy to determine if those were right for you, your heart center doesn't have the drive to keep those commitments. So what is a practice that you can do with a defined heart center? If you are feeling burnt out, I want you to do the following. Rest. Clear your damn calendar. Start saying no. You can't access your drive at its capacity if you are not resting. Once you really are resting on a regular basis, then start practicing discernment by using your strategy and, when the time is right, your authority. Even if you are a manifesting generator, you are not designed to do all of the things. You are still designed to have rest at the end of the day, which is part of your manifestor side. Let some of the things fall off of your plate. If they are important, they will come back to you. Okay, if you have an undefined or open heart center, welcome! This one can be really tricky to navigate, as the conditioning here can seep into a variety of areas of your life. 67% of us, and I say us since I have this completely open, have the heart center undefined or open. When you were listening to the defined heart center, you may have been craving that energy, but don't you worry. Like all the other centers, there's gifts within. But first, let's do the issues. First, you question your value. And that leads you to the second issue, which means that you feel like you have to constantly prove yourself. Remember, when you have an undefined or open center, you take in and you amplify. So if you happen to be with friends or with someone who has a low self-worth, you bring that energy into yourself and you amplify it, either taking it on as your own or amplifying your friend's lack of self-worth. Through this constant cycle of low self-worth, because you don't think you are valuable, and then trying to prove yourself, you actually burn yourself out. Here is where I see the lack of self-trust, because you're conditioned to believe that having a drive, a go-getter attitude will prove to everyone else that you matter. Or even the lack of self-trust that you can't find the right relationship, the right job, the right place to live, whatever it is. This is where shame grows. Honestly, if you have both the undefined or open heart center and the undefined or open identity center, you can really struggle with conditioning about being lovable and having self-worth. Please know that if this is you, because it's like me, there are ways to examine what's going on, where you've been led astray, and ways to experiment to get you more aligned with who you are designed to be. A human design reading may give you some insight, but support is what's really going to help you the most. So if you'd like, schedule a connection call to talk about coaching, specifically if you want to about this area. Now, let's get into the gifts that I hinted out. You are designed to know what is valuable. How fun is that? Honestly, you have this huge gift of discernment. You take in the energy and you can say, oh, this person is not who they say they are, or what they're selling is not very valuable to me. It might not even be valuable to my friend, whatever it is. You can also be someone's hype woman, and this is me. If I believe something, if I believe some place or someone has value, I will shout it from the mountaintops. So my recommendations from like other organizations and that are highly valuable to other people. You can also explore what is valuable. Most people explore life, and when they do, they have the opportunity to learn from their experiences. By doing so, they can see what has value to them now versus what had value to them in the past. This also means that your values might change because you keep, updating your experiences and even upgrading them. Last but not least, and this feels tricky, but it's part of when we start removing conditioning, you begin to see that you are valuable. So because of your discernment and your experimentation, you have so much to offer those around you. Being wise about who is genuine and what holds value is a superpower. One easy step for those with an undefined or open heart center is to get clear on your values. I'm a huge Dr. Brene Brown fan, and her book, Dare to Lead, has a fantastic values exercise where you take time to experiment and try on different values until you only have 2 left. Once you have those, you'll notice how important they are to you. That being said, I know that I'm about due to reevaluate my values, so I will probably do that during my typical fall/winter hibernation season. All right, ladies, this is where we're going to pause for part 1 of the Human Design Energy Centers. We covered a lot today: the head, ajna, throat, identity, and the heart center. I really hope you are already pulling out your chart, even in the very beginning, and started to notice some of these themes, how they're showing up in your life, maybe some of the patterns, and thinking about how you want to practice some of them. Before I let you go, there's just a few reminders that I've already mentioned at the beginning of the episode. If you are interested in joining me for the free mini human design reading sessions this Thursday, April 23rd, the link is in the show notes. And if you have been thinking about applying for the 3rd round of embodiment mentorship, applications are going to be reviewed on May 1st, but you can apply at any time. But there's only 2 spots available, and this is the last time I'm running it for the rest of the year. That link is also in the show notes. And if mentorship feels like too big of a commitment right now, but you still want support, coaching might be the right fit. I only have 2 spots left until fall, so don't wait too long on that one. Review coaching on my website and book a call to discuss what support I can help you with. Part 2 of this series is going to come your way, not in 2 weeks, but actually next Tuesday. We're going to get into the body of the human design chart, and we're really going to discuss the last 4: the solar plexus, the sacral, the root, and the spleen center. These centers are just as unique as the ones I shared with you today. So make sure you're subscribed to the podcast because I don't want you to miss it. And I will talk to you then. Thank you, lady, for joining me on this journey of aligning, embodying, and rising into your most authentic self. Remember, the most important relationship you have is the one you have with yourself. And when you do the inner work, you naturally attract the love and life meant for you. If today's episode resonated with you, I'd love for you to rate and review the show. Your feedback not only helps more women discover the power of self-transformation, but also helps us grow this community. If you're ready to go deeper and align with a relationship and life you truly desire, I invite you to explore my coaching services. Together, we'll use human design, NLP techniques, and self-empowerment tools to help you break through old patterns and create a life that resonates with who you truly are. Visit reinventingthearena.com to learn more and take the next steps in your journey of self-discovery and alignment. Until next time, lady, keep aligning, keep embodying, and keep rising. Thanks for listening to Reinventing the Arena.